The State University of Iowa presents Nile Kinnick, America's #1 football star, All-American, and one of the original Hawkeye Ironmen. Today, Nile will discuss football and education. He will be interviewed by Merle Miller.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Nile Kinnick is one of some 6,500 undergraduates here on the University of Iowa campus. But also, at the present moment, I'd say he's competing nationally with probably Shirley Temple and Charlie McCarthy to become America's favorite personality. But the thing I wanted to talk about this afternoon, Nile, is simply this. Here you are a student at the University of Iowa. And because of this national publicity, it seems to me it's come mainly because last fall, on a series of exciting Saturday afternoons, you carried a small oblong of pigskin better than anyone else in the country. Well, you know, at the present moment, a good many people are saying carrying pigskin, playing football generally, is just a game of brawn. How about it? Do you think it is?
Well, I'll tell you, Merle, there may have been a time when football was clearly a game of brawn. But certainly I think times have changed. Today, increasingly so, we need boys that are very smart and intelligent and can catch on quickly. I think that can best be proved by just looking around at the different football teams in the country and noticing the type of boys that are playing. I know as far as the Iowa team is concerned, everywhere we go over the state, I hear men mentioning what a fine type of boy they have playing, what an intelligent type of boy they have playing. I also might mention something with regard to defensive football. There's been a criticism for the past few years that defensive football is catching up with the offense. In other words, that they have an advantage. And these days, many of the teams are using what they call a defensive huddle. And they'll come up on different plays with different defenses within one series of downs. Perhaps they'll use a 6-man line, and then a 7-man line, and then a 5-man line, and alternate it. If this is to be met successfully, it means that we must have a smart and smarter type of football player that can adjust himself to that. And also I might mention the increasing emphasis is being put upon the number of plays that are used. I know our Coach Eddie Anderson had probably more plays than any other coach in the country. I know at one time we had as many as 200 plays we had figured out.
Well, that now is as far as the game itself is concerned, and after hearing that, I, for one, am willing to admit it is a game of brain as well as brawn. But how about the campus? Now, a good many people say, well, football players are those guys who just get by. They don't do well scholastically. They never have. They never can. How about that?
Well, I don't think that's true, Merle. For instance, if I may again refer to our Iowa team. I'm sure that anyone who knows this team would agree with me in saying that every member of that team could take his place on the campus anywhere, but he ranks right up with any of the other boys on the campus. And I happen to know also that the grade point of this Iowa team is better than any team we've had here in 10 years.
How about nationally? Now, you've been in the East for a good while. Did you meet any football players there who carry out that theory of yours?
Yes, indeed I did, Merle. In Washington, I had the pleasure of meeting John Kindle of Texas A&M and Kevin Kavanaugh of Louisiana State University. Both of those boys were All-Americans. Both of them, as far as I could tell, were intelligent, upstanding boys. And certainly, it seemed to me that they disproved any rumor to the effect that all they have playing in the South is a bunch of tramps.
Well, now, it seems to me here on the campus it might be interesting to talk a little about those fellows on the Iowa team this year, those Iron Men. For instance, what are most of them studying? What kind of subjects?
Well, contrary to popular opinion, not all the boys are in physical education. Jens Norgard, for instance, is an engineer and one of our best friends. Mike Enos is a major in commerce. Bill Green is a major in commerce. Ray Murphy also. I'm taking economics. I think we have a fine cross-section of the campus in general, you know.
Then you'd say, would you, Nile, that football definitely has its place, as far as you're concerned at least, on a university campus?
Yes, I think it's a very integral part of an educational system.
Well, what do you think it does to a university to have a football team? Either, let's say, in the beginning here, either a losing or a winning football team.
Well, it's a funny thing. I might make this comment, Merle, that rightly or wrongly, football is very definitely tied up with the status of the university. Rightly or wrongly, regardless of how good an educational system a school may offer, it is ranked in the minds of the people by the type of football team they have. Now, I know some universities that there's been no change in the personnel or the faculty at all, and yet they've lost class because their football team isn't what it used to be. Now, I say that's rightly or wrongly. I wouldn't care to discuss that.
Well, I think that's probably beside the point anyway. And then, too, now, how about this? I remember last fall on those Monday afternoons when all of us gathered in front of Old Capitol to cheer the fact that on Saturday previously we'd won a very important game. Well, don't you think that's an important part of what it does to the people who are here on the campus at the present moment?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Merle. As far as I'm concerned, I think that is an important part. In looking around, I think you would agree with me that students in general have a greater enthusiasm than they've had in past years, and I refer to just going to classes. They've got a greater kick out of going to classes. Everywhere I go throughout the state, the men say, well, the morale of the state is so much higher. You boys don't know what you've done for the state and for the university. And certainly there's a greater enthusiasm, a higher morale, a better outlook, a more optimistic outlook than there's been in the state for a good many years.
So you wouldn't say, as I wouldn't, I'm sure, that there's anything wrong with just having school spirit and lots of it.
No, I think that's quite all right, Merle.
Another thing now that some people say who are opposed to football, at least as part of a college education, they say now it's too tough a game. Too many people get hurt. It isn't an amateur game at all anymore because the fellows who play aren't amateurs. Well, how about that toughness? Is it too tough a game for a college fellow to play?
I don't think that's true at all. I think the implication there might be that a fellow can be tough and have brains at the same time, and I think that's an absolute absurdity. There is this point about it, that it is a rough game and a tough game, but I think it makes it rather difficult to get your studies, perhaps. But it can be done if you will stick at it. But I think the problem there is doing two things at once, bearing responsibility. I don't think it's any tougher to go out for football and carry on your studies well than it is to carry on any two other important activities.
Well, one of the things, I suppose, would be the time involved. It does take time to play football, and it does take time to study, and you have to work a little bit harder, certainly, than the average undergraduate.
Well, I think there's no doubt about that, but I think possibly the returns to you are greater than the average undergraduate.
Now, here's a question I'm sure they've asked you wherever you've been, but I think it's a good question. It's simply this. What do you think the average fellow who plays football, who plays, let's say, on the first team or even on the second or third team, gets out of it? What does it do to him, or does it do anything at all?
Well, yes, Merle, I think it does a great deal. Any boy who enters into football with heart and soul and plays it for all it's worth can't help coming out changed. I can assure you that nobody can go through 3 years of college football and come out the same as when he went in. He'll either be worse or he'll be better off. I think football is a game out of which you can really get a great deal, but you're more or less playing with fire there unless you really love the game and really make it pay you. Because if you won't concentrate on that and make it pay you dividends, it will take from you.
Well, we were talking before the broadcast now. I like the parallel you gave between the opportunity that college gives and the opportunity that football gives. Would you tell us about that?
Well, as I remember it, Merle, I made this comment. I said if an educator would get up and say that everyone should go to school, that they should strive for an education because it gives them a wider outlook on life, a better philosophy, larger horizon, a better mental equilibrium, and that sort of thing.
Those are familiar words, Mr. Dent.
Yes, they are. Well, if an educator or anyone could get up and say that, everyone would agree with it, no doubt at all about that. They would say, huzzah, that's very true. Let's get our boys to college. And yet, if I were to get up, or anyone else were to get up and say that football is the great American game, that it teaches character, that out of football you'll get a better philosophy, a better outlook on life, a more stable equilibrium, if I were to get up and say that, everyone would brand me a hypocrite right away and say, now, you know that isn't true, that football doesn't give that boys that play football are just made up of brawn, they have no particular intelligence. And yet, I think that isn't true at all. Now, you know as well as I do that the majority of people who go to college don't get that wider horizon, they don't get that better mental equilibrium, they get the opportunity, Merle. And I think the same thing is true about football. While possibly the majority of the boys don't get those subjective values that I mentioned, certainly the opportunity is there, and I think that the values they do get are perhaps more intensely brought out than they are in the educational system itself.
Now, speaking of opportunities, it seems to me you've taken advantage of every one that's been yours this year. And so I'd like to know, looking back on the football season and also on the things that have happened since then, what's this year of football meant to you personally, I mean?
Well, Merle, it's awfully nice to get all these honors and the recognition and the publicity. There's no doubt about that. But what I've gotten out of football, what has meant the most to me, is the personal satisfaction of being able to stick it out for 3 years with fellows like Prassey and Evans and Bust and Dean, those boys who were freshmen with me, being able to stick out those first 2 years when things were rough going, mighty tough and we're losing right along, to be able to maintain our optimism and our hope and expectancy and figure that we were just as good as the rest of the football players, to finally come through in this final year and more or less justify our convictions.
There must be something, well, psychologically pretty bad about losing all the time, don't you think?
Well, I think there's no doubt about that. For football to be of any worth, certainly you have to have a team that can win a fair percentage of the games. You can't say that football teaches character or that it does you much good if you're losing Saturday after Saturday. If you do that year after year, I can't help but see that you come out with a defeatist complex.
As far as this defeatist complex is concerned, does the coach have anything to do with that?
Oh, there's no doubt about that, Merle. A coach, it seems to me that we almost played on description this year. We did so very little scrimmaging. The coach was an inspiration to us. He made us want to play football. It seemed to me that Anderson had the same faith in us, the inherent faith in football players, that a minister might have in the average man, that he was a good man until proven wrong. And certainly he had that same faith in these football players, and he was able to bring it out. It's the same way, I think, possibly in school itself. But it isn't so much what the instructor tells you to read and that sort of thing, but it's what he inspires you to think about or what he inspires you to read. It's a matter of inspiration.
Well, I'd say that had a very close connection then, the coach and the psychology of the player. Now, how about this psychology on a Saturday afternoon? There's so much we hear about it, the will to win. Does that have anything to do with having the score on your side at the end of the game?
Yes, I think there's no doubt about that, Merle. But more than a matter of will to win, it all hinges around the individual player's will to do his very best, I think. It isn't so much beating the other fellow, but just to absolutely make sure that you play your level best out there, that you make no mistakes, that you're alert at all times. If you're able to do that, well, then you will have that team spirit and that will to win that they speak of so much. And on Saturday afternoon, so much has been said about responsibility and mental strain and that sort of thing. I think that's good experience. I know for a number of years that bothered me more than anything else. It isn't the fear of physical contact, Merle, that bothers you so much the night before a game or at the time the game started. It's the fear of making mistakes. It's a matter of responsibility, and I think that's a wonderful experience. It's the same thing that comes up with a businessman when he's trying to put over a big deal.
Is there anything you can do about it before the game begins on a Saturday afternoon? I mean, as far as you yourself is concerned.
Well, it's a matter of experience and a matter of mental maturity, Merle. Out of that, I think a boy learns to bear that responsibility, to be able to remain calm, and yet at the same time not become inalert or lackadaisical or figuring, well, if we can't do it, it's too bad.
Now, just before the broadcast, you mentioned, and I think it's very important here, that you think football has done something to you as far as your whole outlook is concerned. I suppose we might say as far as your philosophy of life is concerned. Could you say something about that now?
Well, I just mentioned, Merle, that as far as any activities that I've been connected with are concerned, that football has given me the opportunity to round out and to change my thinking process and that sort of thing. It's done more for me along that line. For better or for worse, you can judge that for yourself. But certainly it's done more for me than any other activity with which I've been connected.
I know the answer to this last question now, but I'm going to ask it nevertheless. It's simply this. This coming semester, since you're a national personality, since you've been in the East, since you've received I don't know how many dozens of trophies and plaques, how about scholastically? What are you going to do? How many hours are you enrolled for instance?
Well, this coming semester, Merle, I thought for a time that possibly things would be a little easier for me, that I'd be able to sit back and take it rather easy. But I find that I'm looking over the course book, that there are a number of courses which I do want to take, which I don't want to miss at all, and it looks like I'll be carrying 18 hours, and with the few speaking engagements I have and the work to do, I expect I'll be pretty busy again.
And then how about the rest of the fellows on the team? Is that characteristic of them as well?
Well, in what particular respect?
As far as carrying hours, as far as going on through the second semester?
Oh, they'll be in there just like I am, carrying a full quota of hours, I'm sure of that.
Well, thank you very much now, Kinnick. Thanks, I think, especially for giving all of us here in Iowa some exciting Saturday afternoons last fall. Thanks, too, for being still Nile Kinnick after having received honors and trophies and being a national personality. And now it's time to say good afternoon.
This interview with Nile Kinnick, All-American halfback, was conducted by Merle Miller and has come to you from the campus of the State University of Iowa in Iowa City.